Hello again. So Dana White recently went on the Flagrant podcast with Andrew Schulz and accused Francis Ngannou of being a bad guy. And in this video, I'm not only going to be touching on that, but I'm also going to be touching on basically Dana White is a bit of a hypocrite. And before I get going, I just want to clarify that I'm not in any way saying that Dana White is lying about anything that he said in this video. I'm simply just going to call out hypocrisy when I see it, and hopefully you guys can see the same thing that I'm seeing, because I'm seeing a lot of hypocrisy. So his first claim was that Ngannou claims to be a nice guy. He pretends to be a bad English speaker. You know, he can't speak much English, when in reality he's actually a bad guy. He actually knows full well what how to speak English properly, and he's basically just putting on an act.
You know, everybody has this thing about Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou is a bad guy. He's not a good guy. He plays the whole, I don't understand the language, and he tries to come off like he's a fucking nice guy, you know what I mean? And people go, oh, it's the language barrier probably. No, there's no fucking language barrier with this guy. He's a bad guy.
Now, first off, I do think that that's a little bit odd. I mean, I don't really see a reason why Francis Ngannou would pretend to not speak English properly. I mean, that sounds a little bit far-fetched, Dana. I mean, it could be possible, but I just don't see a reason why he would do that. Him not speaking English very well doesn't make him look great. You know, it doesn't make him look good. It wouldn't make him look good if he spoke English either. It's a weird thing to point out, and it doesn't really make sense to me. So Dana White said that before the Stipe fight, Francis Ngannou went up to him and basically said, "You're going to book me a private plane to Paris." And this was before the Stipe Miocic fight, their first fight. And then Dana White said that he laughed and he thought it was a joke. But then Francis Ngannou said, "I'm being serious. I am serious. You're going to book me a private plane."
So he's going in to fight Stipe Miocic in Boston, and he knows he's going to fucking kill Stipe. So after the press conference, we're walking down this hallway, and he comes over to me and he grabs me and he says, let me tell you what's going to happen. His English is fucking great, okay? No language barrier whatsoever. When this fight's over, you're going to book me a private plane to Paris. And I said, I laughed and said, "Oh yeah." He goes, "I'm not joking. You're going to book me a private plane to Paris." So, okay. So we go our own ways. Stipe Miocic beats the fucking shit out of him. So that ended that whole conversation.
I mean, to be fair, the chances of this happening pretty high, because we all know when Francis Ngannou first went in and fought Stipe Miocic in their first fight, the second fight, he absolutely demolished Stipe, but in their first fight, you could tell that Francis Ngannou had a little bit of an ego on him. He sort of overlooked Stipe Miocic and probably had this persona of, yeah, I'm the baddest man walking around, I'm just going to walk through Stipe, and ultimately he did pay the price for that. I mean, Stipe Miocic did put a beating on him throughout those 5 rounds. He really underestimated Stipe, and obviously this doesn't make Francis Ngannou look very good when he went up to Dana White very brazenly and said, "You're going to book me a private plane to Paris once I beat Stipe Miocic." So obviously that doesn't look very good, but at the end of the day, does that make him a bad guy? Not really. I mean, sure, it makes him look a bit egotistical, but a bad guy? Yeah. So here's another claim. Dana said that Francis Ngannou had just had a fight, and basically he didn't win the performance bonus of the night, which would have been $50,000. And he was very angry, walking about the office that Dana was in, just very pissed off, very annoyed that he didn't get this $50K bonus. I can imagine it's quite annoying when you fight your heart out and you don't get a $50,000 bonus. Whether he deserved it or not, that's not the point. The point is, he has every right to be a little bit annoyed about that. But then that leads me into the next accusation that Dana White has made against Francis Ngannou. So Dana White explained that basically you didn't get the $50K bonus because of this reason and that reason, and this fight was way better, this happened in their fight and they fought their heart out, and that ultimately led to me giving them the $50K bonus. But Francis Ngannou apparently wasn't having any of it. Dana White then said that he tried to leave the office that he was in with Francis Ngannou, but Francis Ngannou actually put hands on him, grabbed him by the shirt and pulled him back into the office and said, "We're not done here."
You know, when you're an athlete that's signed by the UFC, you get full access to the Performance Institute, and you can eat there for free. Everything's free, and do all this stuff. This guy was fucking living there, right? And he had just fought, and he comes up to my office, and he's in the hallway or whatever, hanging out, and I said, "Come on in, what's going on?" And he was pissed off that he didn't get a $50,000 bonus in his last fight, that he didn't get the bonus of the night. And I said, "Well, Francis, you didn't get it because this, that." And he's in my office and he's arguing with me. This guy got this guy got that, and this is why. The conversation's over. I'm starting to leave, and he grabs me by my shirt.
Fuck.
And like pushes me back in my office. And I said, dude, get your fucking hands off me.
Those were the words that came out of you when Francis Ngannou grabbed you by the shirt?
Yeah.
Wow.
I could see in this guy's face and in his eyes and in the way he's acting who this guy really fucking is, you know? And, you know, then my guy Hunter, they were talking about something. It might even have been the same thing. And when Hunter started to walk away, Francis grabbed him by the fucking back of his collar and fucking pulled him back, said, we're not done talking yet.
Which, if this did happen, then obviously that's not a very good thing at all. I mean, that does not paint you as a very good guy, does it? I mean, I can absolutely give Dana White credit here. If this is true, if this is factual, if this really happened, then that's really not good for Francis Ngannou. Dana White said that apparently he even did this to Hunter Campbell as well. So it wasn't just Dana White, it was also Hunter. Like I said before, if this really happened, it does not make Francis Ngannou look very good at all. And then by no means am I saying that this did not happen. I'm not saying that Dana White is a liar here at all. I'm not saying that. But this leads me on to my next topic. So Ant Evans, an ex-employee of the UFC, said this on X. I haven't heard of this guy before. I believe it 100%. Francis was a terror at the UFC office when I worked there. He showed up over and over, walked around the offices, standing over people's desks and making staff feel very uncomfortable. Now, some of it was that he was a very huge man from a different culture, speaking English as a third language. And there is such a thing as being proactive. And then there's also bullying. He struck me as a bully. So it's not just Dana saying this, it's also an ex-employee of the UFC as well. And Ant Evans isn't even working with the UFC anymore as far as I'm aware. I might be wrong on that, but I'm not sure. With Ant Evans, he doesn't have a reason to lie about this. He doesn't have a reason to go on and side with Dana White on this unless he has actual proof that this did happen, or he has had bad experiences with Francis Ngannou and he's agreeing with Dana White here. So again, this does not make Francis Ngannou look very good. It's not just Dana saying it, it's also an ex-employee of the UFC that doesn't actually have any reason to side with Dana, apart from if it was true. And like I said before, this video is not about me basically saying that Dana White is a liar, or this is not a video about me trying to paint Francis Ngannou out and really dish the dirt on him. I'm not trying to tear him down. I mean, I couldn't do anything to Francis Ngannou's career anyway, but do you get what I'm saying? I'm not making a video and calling Dana White a liar at all. What I am doing is I'm going to expose the hypocrisy of Dana White. So the thing is, he's trying to paint Francis Ngannou out as a bad guy, right? And that he's done all these bad things and he's made the UFC look really bad and it was awful working with him. He basically said he doesn't do business with bad people. He said from the minute that he looked into Francis Ngannou's eyes, he knew that this was a bad guy, that he was not the guy that he was claiming to be. And by all means, that's completely fair. If you don't want to do business with bad people, that is absolutely fair. However, be consistent, Dana. Because we all know full well that Jon Jones is not a very good human being at all. He's a bad guy, man. He's a bad guy. I'm just going to go through everything that Jon Jones has done. Obviously, you guys know that Jon Jones is a bad guy outside of the octagon. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. This is not breaking news here. Jon Jones is a bad guy. So he's obviously very well known for being a pretty despicable human being outside of the octagon, like crashing into pregnant women, then fleeing the scene, and then coming back, not to check to see if she's okay, but then to grab the drugs out of his car. He then beat his own wife up, and his own children had to call the police on him because they were scared of their dad. He literally beat his wife into a bloody pulp. I mean, he's just a good guy, isn't he? You know, and Dana White loves Jon Jones. He's been sucking him off for ages. I don't know why, I'll be honest. I mean, there's no reason why he has been so loyal to Jon Jones throughout all these years, despite everything he's done. And he's been the poster boy for the UFC, being the greatest of all time. Yet he's been such a despicable person outside of the octagon. So it doesn't really make sense as to why Dana White is now exposing Francis Ngannou as being a bad guy, but he will not ever mention anything that Jon Jones has ever done, which I find is very interesting. Then there's not to mention the steroid cheating, the eye poking in his fights, blatant illegal moves that he just gets away with every single time. So you can't even say he's a good guy in the octagon either. He's not a good sportsman. He literally breaks the rules in order to beat people up. And what about the ducking of Tom Aspinall? We're not going to forget that. He strung the UFC along for over a year to and making everyone think that he's really going to take this fight with Tom Aspinall. And then at the very last moment when it was getting finalised, he pulled out and said, I'm not doing it. And to be fair to Dana, this has actually made Dana White not really want to do business with Jon Jones. I mean, Jon Jones wants to fight at the White House. Dana White is very against this idea. He says he needs people that he can trust for this card. And he's basically saying that Jon Jones is not trustworthy, which he isn't. But my point is that Dana White had no issue being in business with Jon Jones, despite him being a bad person. But then when it comes to Francis Ngannou, he doesn't want to do business with him because he's a bad person. Make it make sense. Actually, I will make it make sense. So Francis Ngannou could be a bad person. Like I said before, I'm not trying to disprove that he is or he isn't. The difference is, that I see, is that Francis Ngannou was the one that left the UFC and started making money elsewhere. He got knocked out by Anthony Joshua, sure. He went to a split decision with Tyson Fury. Absolutely incredible for an MMA fighter in his first boxing match, right? So the only difference between Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou that I see in terms in the perspective of Dana White is that Francis Ngannou left the UFC and has made money out of the UFC, which obviously Dana White does not like. In Dana White's head, it's you can be a bad person, but as long as you carry on making me money and you can carry on fighting in my organisation, in my promotion, then you're a good guy. But if you leave the UFC, then you're a bad guy, which is what he's done for Francis Ngannou for years and years. He completely trashed him. He might have every right to trash him, but he wasn't trashing him when he was in the UFC. And that is exactly what's going on with Tom Aspinall right now. Basically, Tom Aspinall's dad has come out and said that after he fights his contract out, he doesn't want him to sign another contract. He wants him to go over to boxing because there's more money to be made. And obviously Dana White does not like this. He's then come out and basically tried to make Tom Aspinall look like a quitter and said, he didn't want to continue in the fight. He was blind, right? So I don't think Dana White's an idiot. I don't think he misspoke. I think he deliberately chose those words. He chose not to fight instead of he couldn't fight, right? As a way to sort of diminish Tom Aspinall and put him down because there's talks of him moving over to boxing. So he doesn't want Tom Aspinall carrying his fame and his stardom over to boxing. He wants to trash him. So then he doesn't make as much money. He doesn't get as much pay-per-views. He doesn't have as many fans outside of the UFC. And as a business model, this makes complete sense. But you can't sit there and claim that Francis Ngannou is a bad guy or Tom Aspinall's a bad guy when Jon Jones is a very bad guy. Tom Aspinall's literally done as he's told by the UFC for years. He fought Pavlovich on short notice. He said yes to every single fight. He's fought so many fucking people just to get up to the top 10. But now that Tom Aspinall has shown interest in moving over to boxing, all of a sudden he doesn't like Tom Aspinall anymore. I think it's very obvious what's going on here. I think Dana White is really trying to trash both Tom Aspinall and Francis Ngannou. Whether Francis Ngannou is a bad person or not, that's irrelevant. He's trying to trash Francis Ngannou so that he has less star power and he's turning people against him because he's not in the UFC making Dana White money. And of course this is very easily solvable. Fighters don't have to move over to boxing. You know why they do it? Because they earn more money. And UFC could easily pay the fighters more, but Dana White chooses not to. He had $30 million to give over to Jon Jones to fight Tom Aspinall, so he clearly has the money. But he does not want to pay the fighters more. And until he pays the fighters more, this is going to keep happening. People are going to become stars. Fighters are going to become really famous and well known and loved. And they're going to want more money. Over to boxing, you can earn hundreds of millions of dollars in boxing. In the UFC, you're lucky to probably earn 10 million if you're like a really, really famous champion. You're very lucky to earn at least a few million in the UFC. So it's no wonder that Tom Aspinall wants to move over to boxing, and more fighters will move over to boxing if this doesn't change. So yeah, I just think that Dana White has been an absolute hypocrite here. Whether Francis Ngannou is a bad guy or not, I mean, chances are he probably is. There's more people than Dana White saying that he is, and he made them feel uncomfortable. He's a bit of a bully. And I'm not disputing that he could be that. We don't know. We only have to take Dana White's word, except that Dana White's words are usually filled with hypocrisy and they're very biased. So that is my take on the situation. I hope I didn't offend anyone, but this is just the way I see it. I think that Dana White is basically trashing Francis Ngannou because he's making money outside of the UFC and not for him. basically. So let me know in the comments section down below what you think of this whole situation. Do you agree with my take? Do you not agree with my take? I'm more than open to hearing your guys' opinions, whether they agree with me or not. So thank you guys for watching this video. Don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. Turn the bell notifications on so you get notified every single time I post a new video. And I will see you guys in the next one.